Social media in our generation is used for entertainment, education, self-expression, and communication.
Wow.
But what if people utilize it for democracy? Like with Indonesia's current protest, which has been both eventful offline and online. The protests were triggered by a housing allowance for members of DPR that consists of 15 billion rupiah and other things such as economic hardship, elite privilege, corruption, police violence, and demand for reform. The first protest happened in August 25, Jakarta, in front of the DPR building's gate. On August 28, many cities started to protest too. In Jakarta, security forces used tear gas and water cannons on the crowd. August 28, protesters set fire to public property and Brimob headquarters, while activists were drafting the 17 plus 8 demands, which are demands that include 17 short-term demands that were supposed to be fulfilled by September 5, 2025, and 8 long-term demands set to be done by August 31, 2026. August 30, protests have spread nationwide. Among the chaos, an armored police vehicle ran over an auto driver named Afan Kurniawan, who wasn't even a part of the protest and just doing his job. On the same day, DPR buildings all over Indonesia were torched and houses of DPR members were raided. September 1, police went to universities and used tear gas to disperse students. Allegedly, the reasoning was because the universities were used as a refugee place for protesters, and the police were there to fight for them. September 8, several ministers are fired. September 9, UI students staged more protests demanding the fulfillment of 17 plus 8 agenda. Police deployed around 2,000 personnel to secure the area. As the situation got worse, many people have not only shown their voice offline but also online. Recently, many Indonesian citizens have utilized social media platforms like TikTok to raise awareness, share their perspectives, and criticize the government and parliament. On social media, many people online have left comments saying to burn down the DPR buildings. Others have left comments saying we should dissolve the DPR. Many young audiences have reached the news of the demo and they made their own content so that other people can know about the situation, like making animation videos, posts, and stories. However, some things they post become disrespectful or be seen just as content rather than something to be concerned or aware about. For example, there are good animations, such as one portraying how both police and protesters are struggling while the corrupt politicians and parliament members are just using them. This makes people realize and focus more instead of using radical beliefs like ACAB. A bad example is people using Afan Kurniawan's death to make cartoon animations. Although on the surface, this can raise awareness, it isn't the best way. And we must still remember that this is a real person who was killed, not a cartoon anime boy. Another bad example is this animation meme where a character is portrayed as a paramilitary police force that is trying to run over protesters that are recklessly driving in an armored vehicle. There's a much worse version of this where the person getting chased is an ojol resembling Afan. Next are people who stream the protest live or record videos of the protests on TikTok. Some videos show the person's car get destroyed by protesters, people getting beaten up by police, people getting shot at, and people saying provocative or bad things in the comments. Some people post content that actually helps, like videos, IG stories, posts, and comments that explain the current situation in Indonesia, and they remind others to not destroy public property, hurt other citizens, target race, and to focus on bringing justice and reformation. Now, the impacts of these things are 1. Socially, with how much this news is spreading online, with live updates and information daily, people are able to be safe and updated with information and speak up or spread awareness without the risk of going into the protests themselves. However, some people could exploit this and even spread fake news. Young people online might get into the news, post videos, repost, comment, and not fully understand or care about the situation. And of course, there's a risk of rule violations on platforms which can harm themselves or others. 2. There's a very noticeable cultural change in this protest. Through social media, Indonesian netizens have found and explored cultural ideas like ACAB, violent ways of protesting, past revolutions, and the ideology of Tan Malaka. This is good because it actively helps Indonesia to globalize with their political beliefs and viewpoints, and build a better future for the country. However, some netizens take these beliefs too seriously and implement them in the content they post and the things they do during the protests. If majority of people do this, even people who weren't a part of these actions will get affected. Number 3, the protest succeeded in provoking the DPR's housing allowance, which used taxes that should be used for the people instead. However, with all the destruction of public property, they will of course use taxes to repair those too. Additionally, the protest also indirectly caused some parliament members, like ministers, to be fired and replaced by other people. This is seen to also affect the economy due to the change of the system. The use of social media is a key factor in relating the situation with globalization. As seen before, netizens spread the news online through awareness posts, stories, videos, comments, and works of art. This results in how quick online content of the protest spread through the point news outlets from other countries have covered the news. One thing that people have pointed out is the fact that Indonesia's government doesn't reflect on Indonesia's philosophy and foundation, Pancasila. For example, corrupting taxes, parliament getting special benefits and living a luxury life, while some people are suffering, using provocation to cause conflict among protesters, and unfair verdicts. So, what's the solution to all this? Well, we need to constantly remind ourselves and others on what is right and what is wrong. We need to think carefully about our actions in real life and online, and research so we know what is true and what is not. For example, in one of the protests in Dewa Istimewa Yogyakarta, the governor, Hamengkubuwono X, came down into the streets to talk rationally with protesters about the destruction of public property. This enabled both sides to speak up about it and come to a peaceful compromise. While in social media, we can post things that are ethically correct, still are within the rules of social media platforms. Another solution is to utilize social media and spread awareness about Pancasila and its importance to Indonesia. This can be achieved by posting online, integrating Pancasila into school lessons, celebrating national holidays related to Pancasila, and organizing events to help people remember, appreciate, and strive to implement Pancasila in their daily lives. So, the big question, is social media a good way to spread our values and ideas of democracy? Yes, but of course there are still some things we should work on, such as to remind ourselves and others to be wise on social media and to use it properly towards a good cause, whether that cause is spreading Pancasila, our local values and traditions, or Christian values such as loving thy neighbor, speaking and seeking the truth, and to build a supporting community together. And always remember to fight with wisdom and stand with justice.